Hello. Beep, 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 beep. Morning. How you doing? Welcome to the court of the Edijester. Yes, dear peeps, once again, we begin. What's the news? What's the skinny? What's been happening since I last saw you? I've come across something interesting. But this might well put a few people's knickers in a twist, and I've got no problem with that. I'm quite happy if your knickers are in a twist, because when you feel uncomfortable, you do stuff, right? That's the way it works. Before we start, become a warrior teacher. Fill out the form. Links downstairs in the Dubras. I'll be holding a number of conversations with people who've applied already. Come and join us. We'll be starting the next intake in October. So important. If not, buy me a coffee, etc., etc. Oh, and they've allowed me to do subscriptions on Twitter. So I'm looking at that at the moment. Interesting times, isn't it? Interesting times. Lots happening. But what have we got here? Well, what we've got here is an incredibly misguided undertaking. Incredibly misguided undertaking. And I think, do you know what? I'm just going to let you tell me what you think, and you'll get what I think as we go through it. But I think this is a woefully misguided idea. And I will explain why as we go. Okay? He sighs. They never heard the word masculinity without the word toxic. The Manchester Evening News observed a progressive masculinity workshop at Moorside High School where boys are encouraged to explore who they want to be without judgment. Laudable, possibly. You'll tell me whether it's laudable. You're the man. You're meant to be the alpha, the provider. It's a sentence that wouldn't be out of place coming from the mouth of Andrew Tate or an incel chat room. Why? What's the problem with that? Men are meant to be providers of safety. That's what men are meant to be, providers. Why do you have a problem with that? Who would have a problem with that? Right? So, yes, you're meant to be the provider. So how does this help? Ooh, knickers in twists. Right. It's a sentence, as I said, that wouldn't be our place coming from Tate or an incel chat room. But this line wasn't heard in an online forum or manosphere video. It came from a room in Greater Manchester High School, and it was said with some uncertainty. Toxic masculinity has become something of a buzzword, especially after Netflix hit Adolescence. But how dreadful was that? Fears over how teenage boys navigate the increasingly radical and terrifyingly misogynistic online world are mounting. Are they? Are they really? Are they? Or is it just, storm at a teacup time? I don't know. What could it be that's making teenage boys radically misogynistic? Goodness knows. Goodness knows. Let's move forward. We might find out. But one group of men believe they have an approach that can create real change. Do they? All right. In a tucked-away room at Moorside High School, a group of 10 year 10 boys are taking part in a progressive masculinity workshop run by an organisation of the same name. The idea is simple. Nothing is off the table. This is a space to talk freely and without judgment about what is to be a man in 2025. Interesting. Nothing is off the table. This is a space to talk about what it means to be a man in 2025. Well, first of all, they're in year 10. They're boys. They aren't men, and they aren't men in 2025, and they won't be for another few years. The session is facilitated by Phil White, a former serviceman who has worked as a teaching assistant in schools and as a football coach since leaving the Army and Fire Service. Phil is there not to control, but to guide the conversation and to gently challenge when rhetoric emerges that is distinctly at odds with the boys' values. Right. Teachers here have brought Phil in to give the boys a safe space to talk, with the hope that any changes in attitude the sessions make will filter back through them into their peer groups. Naive. Naive is the word. This takes us back to, on the Warrior Teacher Program, we look at the history of education. This is the monitorial system. Oh, if we tell them, they'll tell you it's Rousseauian garbage. This is the monitorial system. It's honest to God, it's Rousseauian garbage. So we'll tell them, and then they'll go and tell others, as if you could make somebody teach somebody else, or in any way understand what it means to teach. The exact opposite is likely to happen. The exact opposite is likely to happen. Absolute utopian garbage. Sorry, Phil. There we go. They see the sessions as something of an experiment. Thank God for that. Thank God, because I'd like to see where your control group is, the control group that are told that what you're saying is garbage, and whether or not they're better at being men in 2025 than the ones you want to be men in 2025. They see the sessions as something of an experiment that, if successful, could help a positive cultural shift throughout the school. It won't. The chances of what you're attempting to do happening, I applaud you for trying to do something at this point. I do. I applaud you. I just hope that you're not the first of many of these kind of groups that are going to do what you're doing, who have no experience and no knowledge of what it is that you're dealing with. Not when it comes to the educational part, although it's obvious that you're Rousseauian, otherwise you wouldn't be using the monitorial system, right? But when it comes to the particular interests that I have in what it is that boys are being told. So should we keep going? Should we keep going? It's interested in it. Stay with me. Stay with me. Right. The boys here know what they have been taught about masculinity and their place in the world, whether that be through family, friends, or online influences. But what soon becomes clear is that when you dig deeper, they've never had the space before to sit and talk about what's behind that. At the start of the session, the boys were asked to collectively come up with a guy code, a list of things that they believe will make them happy and successful men in the future. You know what the weird thing about that is? It's probably exactly the same thing as will make girls successful people in the future as well. It's strange that there seems to be traits about people that make them successful regardless of what their gender is. Their sex, their gender. I'm using gender for a particular reason. Watch as we move forward. Money, one says quickly. Excellent. There's a boy that's on the ball. We are heading to a future, more so than we ever have, where the importance of making money cannot be underestimated. Everything must be monetized. And although money, as you say, money will not make you happy, and the love of money is the root of all evil, it certainly will bring you a better standard of misery. So money, one says quickly. Excellent. A successful job, another adds. Excellent. A happy family unit. Excellent. These sound to me like boys that are on the ball. The list goes on. To become fathers, to finish schools, to be physically and mentally fit. None of this is anything unusual. No, it is unusual. You know why it's unusual? Because they're absolutely spot on. Before they start, they're spot on. They've got it. Money, successful job, happy family unit, to become fathers, to finish school, to be physically and mentally fit. They are absolutely 100% right before the session starts. Can we agree on that? Do we? Here. Do we agree on that? Yep. Remember, they said at the start of the session, this is the guy code. Some of the answers are less virtuous. As the room warms to him and slowly becomes more open, one young man admits he wouldn't like to be with a woman who earns more money than him. Yeah, that would soon change if you found one. And the likelihood of you being with a woman who earns more money than you is actually very small, because women date across and up. They don't date down, kid. And he then says, wouldn't that put her off me, he says, as the man you're meant to be the alpha, the provider? No, not if she's the right kind of woman. He's absolutely right. The boy's right. Not if you're the right kind of woman, kid. Not if she's the right kind of woman. She'll love you for who you are regardless. That's how it works. As the man, you're meant to be the alpha, the provider. It's interesting that they confuse money with them, or more money with them being the provider. They've got it right, haven't they? But it's unhoned, isn't it? They're in year 10. You know, these aren't Plato and Socrates. They're year 10. So there's a chance to hone their thinking here. Very vital work. The use of the word alpha draws a few nods from other boys in the room. Others shift uncomfortably in the seats. But this is where Phil's skill comes in. The aim of the Progressive Masculinity Workshop is not to judge boys for their thoughts and views, nor to tell them what they should think. What Phil does is gently push back on unhelpful rhetoric and models of masculinity by showing the boys how they don't align with their own values. That's very interesting. I'm intrigued to see how that works. You know, the last 3 women I have dated, he says, have all earned more than me, he tells them. Yet when we go out for a meal, I still feel like I should pay. You're told you need to be the provider. But in reality, your partner earning more than you is something that's very likely to happen to you in your life. No, it's not. It's not. It isn't very likely at all. What a lie. Sorry, Phil, you're lying. I'm quite happy to be proved wrong. Show me the data. But no, it's very unlikely. Women date along and up. Throughout the morning, the conversation spans everything from being able to admit when you're wrong, a weakness according to some boys. It is when you're not wrong. To fatherhood. So you come into the room and your 18-month-old son is playing with a Barbie. What do you do, Phil asks? Do you let them play or do you take it away from them? The question sparks a mixed response. Some boys say they'd let them play. Others answer sure. I'd take it away from him, one boy offers. I don't want him to be gay. So now we've gone from, hang on a minute, what does it mean to be a good man, which the boys got absolutely right and it just needed honing. That's the avenue that should have been explored, to let's talk about gender roles. What the hell's this got to do with being a man? What the hell has this got to do for year 10 kids? Okay, so when the question sparks a mixed response, some boys say they'd let them play, others aren't so sure. I'd take it away from him, one boy offers. I don't want him to be gay. That's a year 10 boy, isn't it? Right? Okay, Phil says, so I'll take the Barbie away and replace it with an action man. Does that mean he's not going to be gay? No, the boy laughs, and others join in. They're playing with him. They're playing with him. The kids are playing with him. No, the boy laughs, and others join in. Phil smiles. So you see your logic then? No, Phil. I see yours. If playing with an action man won't turn your son straight, playing with a Barbie won't turn him gay. What? This is absolutely surreal. Anyway, let's benefit of doubt. Good stuff going on here. Don't trust me. I think these people are doing their best with the information they have to hand. Phil asks the boys if any of them know anyone who is gay, and most say no. He tells them statistically it is very likely that one of their friends will be gay, bisexual, or wait for it, transgender. And there you go. And there you have it. The whole thing is blown. Teaching year 10 boys that autogynephilia is okay. Holy shit. And that by saying they don't want their son to be gay, they're also telling that friend that they can't come to them and be accepted. Get in the bin. Get in the bin. This is the same old stuff. This is pure, unadulterated, behavioral nudging. This is exactly what you'd expect from a Rousseauian, because the Rousseauian utopian never appears. Never appears. Right? It's just... they're telling year 10 boys that people can be transgender. It's beyond the pale. In other words, in that one paragraph, what they're saying is if you're gay and bisexual, you can also be transgender, which eliminates gay and bisexual. So in fact, you can't be gay and bisexual if there's such a thing as transgender. They are setting these boys up to fail. That's what they are doing. And they're doing it because they believe what they've got is the best thing. I understand that perfectly. These are good people. You don't do this, unless you are. These are good people. It all ties to a wider point, he says. Boys, he says, often feel they can't talk to each other about how they're feeling for fear of being judged. Yep, what's your problem? Did it ever occur to you that the reason that men don't spend all their time being emotionalized is because they have far stronger and far more difficult ones to deal with than perhaps women do? Maybe, eh? It isn't that we don't have emotions, it's that we have them all. Perhaps that's what it is. Strongly, and that most men spend their life in a state of restraint. Maybe it's that. Tell them that. To deal with the beast, the evil across our hearts, along with the good. To be the better man, to be the best you can be. Oh, and by the way, if you want to stick a dress on and a pair of knickers and grow some moobs and be an autogynephile, that's also fine because you'll be accepted. Is that what this is about? Statistically, girls achieve better than boys at school, he says. Girls are less likely to go to prison. Yes, because they don't break the law. And that's because boys haven't been told that they've got to deal with the beast within. And you've told them that the one thing they can do is pretend to be a woman. And then he says, do you know what the leading cause of death is among men under 50? And suicide, one boy replies softly. Really? Okay, who told him that? Where did he get that information from? Who's been talking to him about that? Exactly, Phil says. So boys, we're winning at homelessness, we're winning at prison, we're winning at suicide, and girls are smashing it at school. This isn't just 1 year, this is every single year, so there has to be a reason for that. Girls are smashing it in school where they are teaching nonsense about mental health, where they're sticking counsellors in every school, where their EDI is rife, lookability Q is rife, critical race theory is rife. You sure that girls are smashing it in school? They might be smashing it in some ways. I don't know. You tell me. I think it's really interesting. For progressive masculinity's founder, Mike Nicholson, it often comes down to a lack of genuine human connection in their lives. He told the Manchester Evening News he set up progressive masculinity after noticing that during 17 years as an England teacher, boys would often come to him to speak about their problems. Boys would come on their own, but they'd say the same stuff, he said. I just thought it would be great if we had a space where we can actually sit down and share this stuff, because we all think that we're going through it on our own. That's the point. That's the bloody point. The point is we're supposed to go through it on our own. We're supposed to become stronger. We are supposed to be the provider, right? To ourselves, the provider of stability, the provider of the ability to manage on their own, the provider to stand above the crowd in a crisis. Why do you think young men are returning to the church in their droves? They lack that framework. And sitting down and playing Kumbaya isn't the answer, I can promise you now. And what certainly isn't the answer is telling them that it's okay to allow your sexual proclivities to take over what will start as a fetish in the boys and end up as a paraphilia. That's what's not okay. It's just insane. Go and have a read. I mean, it says here, boys feel their voices aren't heard. Go and have a read. But these are good people trying to do a good thing. But because they're Rousseauian, for a start, they don't understand how education works, I don't think. And they are going at this from the stance of the progressive liberal left, in which case being transgender is okay. And they're going to tell a bunch of boys who they see as a problem. These kids were okay from the beginning. Remember what they said at the beginning? Family, health, wealth. Remember that bit at the beginning? It should have actually, I'll tell you how the session should have ended. That's brilliant, guys. Now you go and do that. Be a better person tomorrow than you are the person today. I'm sick of this interfering. Absolutely sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. It's all done because they think you're poorly. And they aren't just doing it to boys, they're doing it to everyone. Everyone. From workplaces to universities, from primary schools to secondary. They think people are poorly and that they have the answer how to make them better. Any rate, you let me know what you think of the Dubras. I know you will. Please do give me some feedback. I'll see you later. Have a great day.